Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting today with this image, right from the source material for our deep dive. A sleepy village that just, well, transformed into a booming suburb. That change alone tells you something big happened.
It really does. And that dramatic change is the story we're diving into today, Hillcrest, in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, well, now part of the bigger city.
Exactly. So our mission here is to take these sources you've shared and really get a handle on Hillcrest's journey, how it went from, basically a weekend farming spot,
Way out from Durban back then.
right, to becoming this busy, integrated part of the whole eThekwini metropolitan area that it is now.
Yeah, we'll be pulling out the key bits, looking at the history, where it sits geographically, the infrastructure, what it's like today, extracting those details that make its story kind of unique.
Think of it like this. We're sort of taking a shortcut together, getting you properly informed about this fascinating place, finding the surprising bits, the aha moments, without you needing to wade through everything yourself. So let's just jump right in. First things first. Where and what is Hillcrest?
Okay, so Hillcrest is in the KwaZulu-Natal province, South Africa, and importantly, it's part of the eThekwini Metropolitan Municipality.
Right, the big Durban metro area.
Yeah.
And give us a sense of where it sits relative to the main cities.
The sources put it roughly 32 kilometers, that's about 20 miles northwest of Durban,
Okay.
and around 53 kilometers, maybe 33 miles southeast of Pietermaritzburg. So yeah, it's positioned quite strategically between those two.
And it's known for being higher up, isn't it? Not down on the, hot, humid coast.
Precisely. That's key. It's part of what locals call the upper highway area of Durban. It lies quite a bit higher, roughly 680 meters. That's about 231 feet above sea level.
Wow, that's quite an elevation difference.
It is, and it gives it a totally different feel climate-wise compared to Durban proper. The sources specifically mention it sits just above Durban, kind of on the edge of the Valley of a Thousand Hills.
Ah, okay, that paints a picture. And the sources list some neighbors, areas often mentioned alongside Hillcrest.
Yeah, it's surrounded by places like Gillets and Everton just to the east, Waterfall to the northeast,
Mm-hmm.
and then Bothas Hill and Asage to the northwest. They're all part of that upper highway sort of cluster.
Okay, good grounding.
Uh-huh.
So let's rewind. Let's trace the roots. How did this place actually start?
Right. History time. The sources say it was founded back in 1895. It basically started on a rise, a hill crest, along the main road connecting Durban and Pietermaritzburg back then.
Hence the name, presumably.
Makes sense, yeah. And in those early days, it was quite far from Port Natal Durban's port. So it began more as a, farming village or a place for weekend escapes. Pretty rural.
And the name, it looked a bit different for a while.
It did, yeah. Until 1969, apparently, it was often spelled as two words. Hillcrest.
Hmm.
And what's really fascinating is its specific origin. It wasn't just some random settlement. The sources detail it was laid out as leasehold sites
Okay.
on a piece of a farm called Albania.
And that farm belonged to William Gillett, which of course connects directly to the name of the suburb right next door, Gillett's, named after his family.
Exactly. The Gillets were clearly really important early on. The sources also bring in another key family, the Akuts.
The estate agents. Still a big name in Durban.
That's them, already established in Durban. And they played a role in getting the first school going, which is always a big step for a new community.
Right, shows things are becoming permanent.
Yeah. The first school opened its doors in 1903. Started small in a wood and iron cottage on Hospital Road.
Humble beginnings.
Very. Horace Akut leased that cottage to a Mrs. McMillian, who was the principal of the very first Highbury School. Highbury is still a major school there today.
So a tiny start. How
Yeah.
did it grow from that small base?
Yeah.
What were the next steps?
Well, growth was pretty slow for a good while. The first sort of local governing body, the Hillcrest Health Committee, wasn't established until 1943.
Okay, takes a while.
Yeah. And at that point, the population, all races included, was just 1,135 people. Infrastructure was really basic. Only the main road itself was hardened.
Wow. So getting anywhere off that main road must have been tricky, especially in the wet season.
Oh, I imagine so. The sources show road hardening happened bit by bit, very gradually. In Kutu Road got a clinker surface that's like crushed brook or slag in 47.
Right?
The first bit of an underroad was hardened in 51. Proper paving, like asphalt or blacktop as they call it, only started on some central roads in 62 and then a bit more in 65. You can really see how basic things were for decades.
But then things started picking up pace. The population grew more quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
By 1971, the population had more than doubled to nearly 2,800 people.
okay, that's a significant jump.
It was enough for Hillcrest to get town board status. That was a big deal. Gave it more formal local government powers, planning ability. It was moving beyond just being run by a small committee.
And infrastructure presumably had to try and keep up.
Well, it tried. The sources mention the wastewater treatment plant, which came in the 1990s, but even then, it initially only served the main commercial area.
So houses were still on septic tanks.
A lot of them, yeah. Shows that the infrastructure was playing catch-up with the growth even then.
Now, here's a fun detail the sources mention. Something about car number plates. Tells a story.
Ah, yeah, that's a neat bit of local color.
Mm-hmm.
Before December 1st, 2023, cars registered in Hillcrest and the whole upper highway area had plates starting with NU.
NU, what did that stand for?
N was for Natal, the province's old name, and the U specifically marked it as Upper Highway. Covered Kloof, Gillets, Buthas Hill, Asage Waterfall, Everton. Even places a bit further out like New Germany and Queensburg were included in that U designation.
That's fascinating. A simple thing like a number plate showing the recognized regional identity.
Exactly.
So this town board status has this regional identity.
But then things changed again. It lost that independence.
That's the next big chapter, mirroring the physical growth. Hillcrest lost its independent town board in 1996. It first became part of something called the Outer West Local Council.
Which was like a sub-council of the bigger Durban structure at the time?
Yeah, a substructure of what they call the Durban Unicity then. But that was temporary.
Okay, so what happened next?
In 2000, there was another big reshuffle. That Outer West Council and others like it were scrapped. They were replaced by the single, unified eThekwini municipality.
The one we have today?
Correct. And this new municipality covered the entire Durban metro area. Coast, suburbs, upper highway, everything. That's when Hillcrest officially became fully part of the greater Durban governance structure.
And that's when the source says it got swept up in Durban's urban sprawl. Makes sense. What did that look like on the ground?
A boom.
The sources describe a really significant building boom, especially late 90s through the 2000s. Hillcrest had the space, you see, and it was seen as a desirable spot away from the coastal hustle. So as Durban expanded outwards, Hillcrest was prime territory.
And it wasn't just more houses being built, was it? It was a different kind of development.
Absolutely. The sources really highlight two things. Lots of shopping centers going up.
Big retail.
Yeah, large-scale stuff. And crucially, many gated communities. Places like Cotswold Downs, Camelot, Plantations Estate. This mix, big retail and secure estates, points to a shift, attracting commuters, people wanting maybe more space, or that gated security lifestyle.
Yeah, changes the whole vibe. The source even mentions the view of Inanda Road changing dramatically during this time.
That's right, uses it as a visual marker of that transformation.
Totally reshapes a place. Okay, let's fast forward to today. Based on the sources, what are the key areas in infrastructure in Hillcrest now?
Well, looking at Hillcrest today, the sources list specific suburbs or areas within it, like Albany, Albina, Belvedere, Hildene, Plantations, West Riding. Right. And of course, the big one, Cotswold Downs Golf and Country Estate, shows how the residential areas have spread out.
And retail is obviously a huge part of the picture now.
Oh, definitely. Old Main Road is still identified as the main strip, the heart of the central business district. But it's not just small local shops anymore. It's lined with shopping centers.
Give us an idea of the scale. Which ones do the sources mention?
They name quite a few right on Old Main Road. Hillcrest Corner gets called out as the largest.
Okay.
But there's also Christians Village, The Colony, Hillgate, Hillcrest Center, Lily's Quarter, Oxford Village Center. Quite a concentration.
And development is still happening, even pushing outwards a bit.
Seems so. The sources point to newer centers nearby. Westtown Square, which is part of that big Westtown development down in Shangweni, about 4 k's away. That apparently opened March 27th, 2025.
Very recent then.
Yeah. And another one, Cotswold Square, actually within the Cotswold Downs estate, is expected to open July 2025. So the retail footprint keeps expanding.
What about basics like safety, policing?
There's the Hillcrest Police Station located on Paddock Road, just off Old Main Road. And the sources note its patch, its policing precinct, is really large. Covers not just Hillcrest itself, but that whole cluster of upper highway places we talked about. Gillets, Everton, Waterfall, Botha's Hill, and even further out to Nkolosi, Shongweni, Somerveld.
Makes sense for a regional hub. Education's always crucial for suburbs. What schools do the sources highlight?
Okay, schools. For public options, there's Hillcrest High and Hillcrest Primary right in town. Winston Park Primary in nearby Winston Park also gets a mention.
And private.
Quite a few listed. Highbury Preparatory, Curro, HCA, Waterfall schools are mentioned as being in or very near Hillcrest. Plus, well-known ones slightly further out, like Kearsney College in Botha's Hill and the Roseway Waldorf School over in Elverstone. So, plenty of choice across the board.
Healthcare facilities.
Sources identify two main hospitals. Hillcrest Hospital, which is public and specialized, focusing on chronically ill patients. And then there's the Busamed Hillcrest Private Hospital. That's a private general hospital owned by Busamed, located just on the edge of Hillcrest.
Right. Lastly, let's talk transport. Roads are vital for a place like this, especially with commuters.
Absolutely fundamental to understanding modern Hillcrest. Its location is key. It's just off two major highways. The M13, which is now called the King Sechweyo Highway.
The main route down to Durban.
Exactly, heads southeast towards the city. And it's also very close to the N3, the big national toll route linking Durban and Pietermaritzburg. Those connections were the game changers for growth.
But the road through the town itself is still that old main road.
It is. The R103, Old Main Road, still runs right through the CBD. It follows that original Durban-Pietermaritzburg route and continues northwest out towards Botha's Hill and Nchanga.
Still the backbone.
Yeah, and the sources also mention connecting routes like the M33 and Nanda Road, which heads out towards Waterfall, and the M46, Cassia Road, going southwest towards Asage and Shongweni. Those link Hillcrest into its immediate surroundings.
Wow. Okay, we've really traced that journey, digging through the source material from, a small plot on a farm in 1895.
Just a few houses, really basic.
All the way to this complex, busy suburban hub it is today, fully part of a major metro.
Yeah, this deep dive really shows how it was shaped by, well, its location initially, that higher altitude retreat, then slow infrastructure growth, and then boom. Being pulled into the eThekwini metro area and the development that followed just transformed everything.
And hopefully this run-through of the sources has given you, listening, a really solid, informed picture of how Hillcrest got to where it is now.
You know what's really striking, thinking about it, is how the roads themselves tell the story. You've got the R103, the old heart.
Where it all started.
Right, but it's the M13 and N3 access that really fueled the change. And now you have new roads branching off to completely new areas like Westtown. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? For places like Hillcrest, growing so fast, how do they manage to keep some sense of that original village past while they race into the future? Something to think about.